Hi everybody, my name is Boris. I'm a second year physician assistant student, and this is going to be episode 2 of my pre-PA Q&A. So this is basically just me answering pre-PA questions that I get emailed to me as comments in my Instagram, on YouTube videos, things like that. Things that you guys want to know about applying to PA school, about succeeding while you're in PA school. Basically anything and everything PA school is what the questions have been so far. So, without further ado, I'm going to get to this question. And if you see me looking kind of this way, it's because I'm reading the question and my response to the question off of my laptop with the nice BTPA logo sticker that you can get from Teespring, but more on that later. Anyway, so this question actually comes from somebody who I've worked with on their essay, and I also did a mock interview with her, and she's actually a really competitive student. You know, has a really high GPA, great patient care hours, very organized, presents herself very well, just a very competitive applicant. And of course, she's taking her application very seriously, so she's working really hard on her essay, on preparing for her interviews, and of course, she's consulting someone like me to help her even further. And she's reaching out this time with just a couple quick questions as she prepares for her third PA school interview. Yeah, like I said, she's competitive. Anyway, so she says, "Hi Boris, I would like to ask for your advice as I just got my third interview invite and I want to be more prepared." See what I mean? "For my second interview this Sunday, I encountered my first group interview, and while the interview panel wasn't intimidating, the questions definitely were. There was a lot of situational questions and questions that I had not practiced as they were not in my interview book." See what I mean? She memorized an interview book. All the kind of mock questions that she can get her hands on, she basically prepared for. But the problem is you can't prepare for everything, right? So she says, "I came up with the best answer on the spot, but it definitely threw me off because I remember asking if I could take a few seconds to compose my thoughts. And during our mock interview, I actually gave her that advice. I told her, look, if something is a long question or if you just get tripped up for a second, it's totally okay to say, hey, can I have a few seconds to think about it? May I compose my thoughts? Can I have a little bit of time to compose my thoughts?" That's perfectly professional and actually a really good thing to do, better than answering off the cuff if you're just not ready, you know? So I think I remember telling her to do that, so I'm glad she did that. And then she goes on to say, "I noticed I had a difficult time when I was asked two-part questions that I was not prepared for because I had to think of an answer to the first question on the spot and also try to remember the second part of the question. So I was wondering if you had any advice here. Thank you and stay safe." Obviously, she's saying stay safe because this is the time of COVID, and it's just something that people tell each other now, in case you're watching this video not in 2021. So anyway, my response to her was, first off, oh my god, congrats on the third interview invite, I'm so proud of you. Also, I'm so glad you're using the, quote, "can I have a few seconds to compose my thoughts" line. Yeah, I told you, I told her to do that, and it definitely worked for her. So my answer is, situation questions are tough because it's usually a situation you haven't been in and you have no idea what to do. Those questions are really trying to assess your values and your attitude. In a group setting, they're trying to assess your personal skills, i.e., your ability to listen to others and work in a team setting. Of course, that's really tough over Zoom, but it can work. And some schools are obviously still doing group interviews, even though nobody's doing in-person interviews right now. It's mostly over Zoom, or at least at this time it was. I also said it's a balance of listening well and being respectful, but also being assertive enough to get your point across, and also paying attention enough to make sure that what you say makes sense, giving everything that was said before it. So you're not just trying to wait for your chance to speak, and you just have a canned line that you've been rehearsing in your head and not listening to anybody. No, it's good to listen to other people and make what you say make sense. So I said, but you're actually listening to people and acknowledging what they are saying and taking that into account before giving your response. Then I said, for the two-part questions, I think you already have the tools for success. Just ask for a few seconds to compose your thoughts, and then think through both questions. Then ask yourself if your responses to those two questions are related, and think of the best possible way to deliver both answers. You could break up your response and answer each question separately, or combine your answers to answer both questions at once. I know it seems like a lot to do in just a few seconds, but you'd be surprised how fast your brain works, especially when you're a little nervous. You know, you're in a really sympathetic state, it's like fight or flight, everything's just moving really fast. So what seems like 10 minutes to you and you're just going round and round in your head, it's really 30 seconds. So it's perfectly fine to just think through your responses, take a breath, and you're really not taking as much time as it feels like you're taking. So just know that. And then I told her, just remember these simple steps. 1. Listen carefully to the question or questions. 2. If it's a long or a complex or even a two-part question, consider asking for some time to think. And just one thing I told her, and I'm telling you, don't just parrot the same thing every time. Can I have a few seconds to compose my thoughts? Switch it up. Say, is it okay if I take some time to think about it? Oh, great question. I just need a minute to think it over. Something like that. It's the idea, not the line, that's important here. It's perfectly professional and okay to take some time to think of a good response. That's your point. Don't just keep saying the same line over and over again because it's going to seem kind of robotic and not personal, if that makes sense. Then 3, I said think of your response and make sure it answers the whole question or both questions if it's a two-part. And then 4, give your answer. Consider restating the question or questions. So this might be especially good to do in a two-part question, so you can answer the first question, and then when you're done, you can say something like, and to answer your second question, blah, 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 blah. That shows that you're organized and you're paying attention. I actually had a mock interview recently where the student was extremely type A, very organized, and she had 5 responses to one question, and she actually said, literally, before every response, and the first reason I want to say this is this, and the second reason is that, and the third reason is that. I just thought it was a really interesting thing to do, and I know it sounds kind of robotic the way I'm describing it, but it's not. It's just the way this person's mind works. She was just a very type A, very organized, very scientific, very straightforward kind of a person, and that's just how her mind works, and that's great. That's really good in grad school, really good in medicine. I'm not saying everybody has to be that way, but if you are that way, it's perfectly cool to communicate that. And that's what she did, and I thought it was really good, honestly. I really liked it. So anyway, that was my response to her question. And like I said, this is somebody who's very competitive, excellent grades, great experience, obviously works really hard to prepare for her interviews and in her schooling. But even so, she still felt kind of thrown off by questions that she wasn't prepared for, questions that weren't in a book that she was reading on interviews. And like I told her, and I'm telling you right now, there's no way, there's absolutely no way to memorize a response to every possible question. It's impossible. There's much better ways to prepare for your interview than just memorizing a ton of questions. I'm not saying practice is bad. Practice is really, really good. You want to practice being in an interview setting. You want to practice telling the handful of stories about yourself and about your medical experience that you've memorized. You want to practice answering questions. You want to practice being on the spot. That's really good. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't rely on memorizing every single question that you might be asked and then get really thrown off and nervous if you're not asked those questions and you're asked something else. So if you want kind of a deeper dive into how to actually prepare for your interview, take a look at this video right here, and I go into that in a lot more detail. All right, so until next time, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Email me, comment on my Instagram, whatever your preferred method of asking me questions is, please do that. And also don't forget, today is Monday, April 12th, and I have a Littman Classic 3 stethoscope giveaway that ends tomorrow, April 13th, 2021. And so for instructions on how to enter that giveaway, look at the last video I posted, I think it was a couple days ago or maybe a few days ago, and enter for a chance to win a free stethoscope. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.